Hey, guys, and otherwise, this is Jonathan O'Roseline.
And I'm Noah, also known as Polyphonic, and you're listening to Horns and Wings, the podcast where we talk about smut as if it's art.
And we're talking about issue number 9, Sleeping Lying Cat. I'm gonna cry thinking about it. It's so... Let's start the podcast. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna survive this one.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
Oh man. But before we jump in, I have an anecdote from my life literally yesterday, as of this recording, that it seems relevant to Saga readers in that it is about Image Comics. If you've read Saga, you've probably read some of the books I'll be talking about. But do you mind if I tell a quick little story, Noah?
No, spin me a yarn, John. Spin me a yarn.
So as I mentioned last week's podcast, I think I'm working with Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios, is what I teased. Can't imagine what that's about. The two creators of the Pretty Deadly comics. Big surprise. I'm doing videos about the Pretty Deadly comics, and it's coming back after like a 3-year-long hiatus. Oh God, I hope that's not what Saga is. But they're coming back with a third volume after like 3 years. And I reached out to them because I saw it was coming back, and I was like, hey, you want to collaborate on some videos about Pretty Deadly? It'll signal boost them a bit, and I just want to talk about them anyway. And they're like, sure. And so I've been working with Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios and Kelly Sue DeConnick's whole Milk-Fed Criminal Masterminds gang, which is her sort of label that she puts out everything under. And we're just about to drop a trailer for the new comic, so I got to read that early, and it's the best, and you should go pre-order. Well, I guess you can't pre-order it now, but just go buy it soon, September 4th. But anyway, Noah, have you worked for people? Like, have you made videos for people that like require revisions and stuff?
Oh yeah. There's a reason I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I was like, so in my head, I was like, this is gonna be like a collaboration. This isn't gonna be, but like. What I wasn't really considering is this video in particular. The other videos will be more make stuff style, but this video is like a trailer for their new comic that they're posting on everything and needs to be perfect and not spoil certain things and everything like that. And still, so I turned in a draft of the trailer. I pitched the whole trailer, exactly how it was going to look and feel and everything and sound. And then I went and made the trailer super quick, did a bunch of like all-nighters and all-dayers, I guess. And I made it, and I was like, oh, finally. Usually at this point, because I like to do these sprints of editing, just because that's probably the like least brain-heavy part of editing, would you say so? Or of creating a video, just sitting back and punching in the values.
Yeah, just doing the grunt work.
Yeah. And so I turned it out really quick, and then I was just exhausted by it. And usually I'm just like, okay, I'm done. This is it. I'm finished with the video. I'll send it their way.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the next thing. And I didn't factor in just notes and feedback on which I don't have a structure in place to make changes to videos.
Yeah, that's
what do they think I am, a professional?
That's been my issue when I run into these, because I make videos in a very linear way where I start at 0 and I finish at 9 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And everything falls apart if I need to go back and replace clips and do stuff like that. It's not a good situation.
Yeah, and I do it all in After Effects. It was like,
oh God,
between all the sound effects and everything, just for this 2-minute trailer, there was over 200 layers. And if I needed to cut out something or just make a clip shorter or something, I needed to like move every clip past that back to shorten it. But then also it was all cut in time with like a baseline, and so like every change had to be like factored into these like sets of 4 notes and everything. But anyway, so I sent it to them and they loved it, but they just had a couple notes. I got I think
notes.
1 note from Emma, and 1 or 2 notes from Kelly Sue. And then I was like, okay, I can change this really quick. It's not a big thing. But then Matt Fraction, Kelly Sue DeConnick's husband, and literally my favorite writer of anything of all time, emails me. He's like, hey, I have some notes for the video. And it's like 4 or 5 notes. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll change this. And this is also like, they don't especially have a concept of like how hard or easy certain things with videos are to change. And they, I think a lot of people are under the impression that I'm a normal human being that uses presets and stuff, and I could just change this shit really quick.
What kind of a scumbag uses presets?
Oh my gosh, fucking monsters. And so I was like, yeah, this is okay. I can do this. Also, I just interacted with Matt Fraction, and it was just him giving me notes on what to fix about the thing I made. And then I get an email like an hour later from Kelly Sue that's like, okay, I have a list of proper notes here. Full disclosure, they're from Warren Ellis.
Oh my God. What?
The legendary
Wait, Warren fucking Ellis gave you notes?
Transmetropolitan and Planetary and my favorite run of Moon Knight ever and the fucking Netflix Castlevania show and stuff. And
he wrote like my favorite fucking panel in any comic ever.
What is that?
Which is let me, how does it exactly go?
What book is it?
It's Transmetropolitan. Here we go.
Okay.
I don't have to put up with this shabby crap. I'm a journalist.
Of course you would love Transmetropolitan. That's another fucking front runner for a comic we should cover at some point.
Oh, God. If we did Transmetropolitan, we'd need to do it page by page, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's so dense.
But yeah, so it's like these notes are piling up, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. And then I realized, oh, I fucking hate this because it's literally the 4 creators whom I respect like most in the world just being like in a day.
I'm right
like,
here.
Hey,
I'm right here. That's very rude.
It's just like everyone I respect, and it's specifically not Noah, saying, hey, here's, first of all, nice to meet you. Here's all the things I don't like about the thing you made. And I was just like, oh no, this hurts a bunch. I've had one interaction with Warren Ellis, and it's him pointing out my flaws. And so I've just been like this. It is such a situation where it's just like, I don't even know how to cope with this or to work with this, because it's just like, who the fuck goes through this dumb thing? It was already crazy enough. Like it's insane that, partially thanks to this podcast and the videos I put out animating the Saga panels, but it's insane that I even had the chance to email some of my favorite creators of all time and be like, hey, you want to work together on a dumb thing? I don't know. And they're like, yeah, sure. Like who the fuck is like, oh, I really like Neil Gaiman. I think I'll email him and ask if he wants to make a book together. Like, that's fucking insane. And so just like, I already feel so like honored to be in this situation. But then on top of this, it's just like, oh, I guess everyone will just, all my favorite people will point out all my flaws really quick. And that was last night. And so if I'm a fucking mess during this podcast, I'm at that point where it's just like, I kind of feel broken down, but also in comparison, everything's stupid. Like, it's like, why I'm gonna be fucking like bothered by this or anxious about this podcast that I've done a million times when fucking Warren Ellis is pissing on me.
I mean, I think
I could do this shit all day.
I do think that you should add a caveat that you respect that these people are trying to improve this and you value their notes.
It's art. and how dare they? No, we made the video much better. It's going out today, and I'm super fucking proud of it. But there was one note from Warren Ellis that I just like sincerely disagreed with. And so I was just like, fucking get notes from Warren Ellis and also argue against a note from Warren Ellis. This is a big fucking day for me.
What was that note? Can you tell me off the record?
There's a shot where it's like this silhouette of a scary old woman standing over a bed, and it starts as like a static image, and then the silhouette of the woman starts moving closer to the person sleeping in the bed. Yeah. And Warren Ellis said and it's a totally valid note. You know what? That Warren Ellis guy kind of knows what he's talking about. But I disagreed with it. Where the old woman starts to move like a second into the clip. The old woman starts to slowly creep towards the person in the bed. And in my mind, it's like, oh, it's just the fact that you think it's a still image, because also we didn't see any. It's the first shot in the trailer, and we didn't see any like movement of stuff. And so what makes it creepy to me is the fact that you think it's a still image, and then it starts to move.
And then it starts moving. Yeah.
Yeah. And it got like an audible "oh God" out of Haley when she watched it. So I was like, mission accomplished. And so yeah, I had to send an email just being like, hi, thanks so much. Here's the reason I disagree with some things that Warren Ellis and Matt fucking Fraction said. And I have no ground in this argument.
Did Warren Ellis not want it to move?
No, he wanted it to move the whole time.
Oh, move the whole time.
Like a consistent thing. And I'm like, no, it's that moment when you first realize, because the movement's so subtle that it takes you a second to realize it started moving. And so...
Yeah.
Oh, God, I feel so fucking stupid just talking about it. Oh, Warren Ellis is an absolute hero of mine. Literally everyone I talked about is an absolute hero. And so I was just like, I'm going to do all these notes, and y'all see what you like the most, but here's what I think works best.
I'm excited to see the final cut.
Yeah, the director's cut going on. I did one. Yeah. I did one that was called the law-abiding cut. That was like every suggestion put in there, and then I did the one called the Ridley Scott's director's cut, where I just did all the stuff I liked.
Oh, that's good.
And the Ridley Scott's director's cut is going up on the Make Stuff channel, so go check that out. And let's talk about a comic, please.
All right, so
oh boy,
I think this cover is where we should start. Can you describe this cover to me, Jonathan?
Horny. Horny equals me. We have topless the Will with the stalk behind him.
Hey, remember her?
Yeah, I guess she's alive. And grabbing his abs, and has a finger in his mouth, and doing all kinds of stuff with all kinds of arms, and a gorgeous, gorgeous purple background that also matches the skin tone of the person in the first page. I just realized. Yeah. But it's a cover that really makes me question my sexuality. Horny. Or not even question. It makes me so sincerely sure of my sexuality. I've never been more confident of it.
I'm pretty confident in my sexuality with this, but it does make me question my feelings on spiders, which is
this is honestly like,
this is the one that's brought me to your point on the to your point on the stalk. It's been a while getting here, but
yeah, it's gorgeous. It's a fucking classic, and it's total smut, and I love it to death.
And it looks like the cover of like a novel you'd see in the smut section of a bookstore. Yeah.
Classic Danielle Steele.
Only with a crazy spider lady.
Oh, you haven't read that one? There's a whole series. Oh man.
All right, so who's gonna start us out here?
Entirely your call.
All right, well, I guess I'll describe what we're seeing here as we open up the book.
Good luck.
Well, you may remember Mama Sun from earlier. If you don't remember her, she's the purple lady who runs or has some high up role on Sextillion, the horny planet. So we've got the full splash is her with her guards behind. Now, we've seen these guards before, but in case you don't remember, These guards are headless, muscly bodies with faces on their torso, eyes where the nipples should be, and a tongue sticking out the belly button. They're holding batons that are dildos, and they have nothing on but leather skirts, boots, and a codpiece that has a face on it. And there's 2 of them. How'd I do?
Very good, and I feel like the dialogue on this first page really complements this.
Well, yeah. After looking and getting all smutty at the cover and getting all horny looking at the cover, you open the page and Mama-san is looking directly at you and says, "Honestly, what is wrong with you?" So fun.
Surrounded by nipple-eyed tongue torsos.
Yeah. So then we see she's talking to the Will, and he's on Sextillion with Slave Girl in his arms. What's going on here? Mama-san says that Slave Girl belongs to Sextillion. You can't just take it from her. And Mama-san says, like, don't even bother trying. She's got the gun on. She says, give it up. She says, don't even bother if you're thinking of making her an apprentice. And then the Will says, I've already got a partner. Mama-san says, too bad your big pussy didn't warn you against coming back here unarmed. And the Will says, Lion Cat is my sidekick. My partner just got back from sick leave. And then the fucking torso men blow up in blood and gore, and we get a voice that says, Hiya, Mama Cellulite, and we see the stock in white.
Yeah.
Which is different, with a big-ass shotgun and a big-ass hammer. Might be Mjolnir. And then she runs out and just chops Mama-san's head off. As the Will covers Slave Girl's eyes. Then the Will and the Stock make out. And then the Will introduces the Stock to Slave Girl. Slave Girl puts her head down and then lifts them up, and her eyes are like cat-like, and she's hissing, and her teeth are all bloody. And what? Oh my god, it was a dream sequence. Jonathan, it was a dream sequence all along.
Motherfuckers.
That's why I had such a difficult time describing it.
And this is normal, and this is a big twist that totally happened. Man.
Yeah. And so yeah, we cut to, on a page turn, Lion Cat looking at the Will, and we'll go into that scene later, but first let's talk about this little dream sequence. First dream sequence of Saga, I believe.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Did Marco have one when he was out?
He had a flashback, didn't he?
Oh, that might be it. I don't remember at all. We should re-record the first few episodes.
Let's start from the beginning and go over again.
But yeah. It's the first one that sticks out to me for sure as being fucking crazy. And it's like the whole dream sequence is like, what if this book was actually like really satisfying in their storyline?
Yeah, it's very much wish fulfillment.
Yeah. This is if Twitter wrote Saga.
Yeah. I think this whole scene, I mean, also just fucking, it's getting to the point where I say this every episode, but goddamn Fiona Staples' color palettes. This scene is so, like, bright, but all of the colors mesh so well. It's neon-ish, but not, like, overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a lot of gem tones. It's gorgeous. I love the red that sort of takes over the backgrounds in the last couple pages.
And I think the bright color scheme makes the Stock really stand out in her white dress. Yeah. And her skin's all white.
Yeah, she has a big stitched up wound across her chest from where she was blasted through.
Yeah. I think this whole scene is phenomenal, and it really, once again, this is kind of humanizing the Will further. And I don't know about you, but by this point, like, I really like the Will, even though I've seen him just straight up murder people in cold blood.
Yeah. No, at this point, I'm all for it. The Will is just the fucking badass, and he has my hair cut. So
You mean a shaved head?
Yup. Timeless. Yeah, one thing I wanted to point out was the sound effects. We get one use of sound effects,
yeah.
and it is when it's almost out of necessity, which is interesting to see. I think that's the case a lot, but then again, later in this same issue, we'll get sound effects that are not out of necessity and are just super satisfying. And but here it's, I think the sound effects are used as problem solving a lot. And this one, we get the croom over the headshots on the, or torso shots, I guess, on the nipple eyes guys. That's the
dildo
name.
Guards is what I'm going to call them.
Nice. And that, like, it works so well because if you didn't have those sound effects, it would just seem like their heads were exploding.
Yeah.
And that kind of tells you that they're getting shot from off panel. So that is I want to start paying attention to when the sound effects are used, because it's a bit of a rarity and it's always for good reason.
There's a good sound effect use later in this episode that I have some notes about too.
Okay, I wonder if it's the same one as me.
It definitely is.
All right. So you want to do next scene?
Well, I think the other thing that's worth noting, the other sound effect, the hiss.
Oh, right.
I think that's also really important and really kind of visceral and just shocks you into the like dark, surreal. It feels like a jump scare in comic form.
Yeah.
And I think you need the sound to get that startling effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we have the hiss as a transition.
Yeah. And then what happens next, John?
Then the Will wakes up on his island planet, and what woke him up is Lion Cat hissing at someone off panel, and it's fucking Gwendolyn showing up.
Oh, guess we are gonna get to know Gwendolyn.
Yeah.
Guess it wasn't just a full splash page introduction at the end of an issue for nothing.
So Gwendolyn introduces herself. She's the Secretary General. Or she works for the Secretary General of Wreath High Command.
Assistant to the manager.
And she says she's very much not satisfied with the work that the Will's doing. Oh, I should also point out, the Will says that she speaks pretty good language for a lunar type, and she points to her translation pendant. Family heirloom, and she looks at her ring finger and says, used to be part of a set, actually, which is a nice little filling in the backstory a bit.
Yeah.
And so the Will said he's just waiting for a lead, and Gwendolyn says, go fuck yourself, pretty much, and is trying to get him back on the job, and says that they need to find Marco. Will says that her and Marco clearly have history together. Gwendolyn says absolutely not. And Lion Cat says lying. And the Will says, hell, a dead dog could have told me that.
I love that. That one's so good.
And then so the Will understands what's actually going on here, but says that for him to do the job, he needs 650 large for, what's he say? Need way more cash to do it right. And then Lion Cat timidly interrupts him with a very quiet lying. And Gwendolyn says, how have you not murdered that creature by now? And he says, oh, I've tried. And so he says that pretty much he'll do the job if but he needs to go get Slave Girl off of Sextillion first. And Gwendolyn was just like, all right, I'll take care of this. Take me onto your ship. She's got to use the phone, and keep your animal outside until I'm through. So she's going to go do some lying. Yeah.
The Lion Cat really steals the scene here.
Yes. Just the acting is so good.
The way there's a panel where it's kind of like a shot from above where they're talking, and Gwendolyn's talking about how Marco's actions have sullied the narrative, which also is, what's the narrative? That's some interesting stuff there.
I love just because it's proper noun capitalized. Have sullied the narrative, which is such a good, like, I feel like you immediately know in terms of war and propaganda, the narrative is such a good name for it.
Yeah, exactly. The acting in Lion Cat's face too, the way that Fiona Staples draws these expressions, like like the confidence when Gwendolyn is lying, the timidness when the Will is, and then the the look on that bottom panel where Lion Cat is just like looking at them with just like I don't even know how to describe that look.
This is me. This is the if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best face.
Which it also begs a question. Lion Cat it doesn't even beg a question. It implies that Lion Cat has to say lying when she detects lying, right?
Yeah. Which I love.
Like there's it's not a choice thing, which is a really interesting. It's Lion Cat is such an interesting and such a compelling narrative tool.
Which I love how many things like that and the screen on the robots' faces and stuff are just like such great narrative tools baked into all these characters.
Yeah.
That are just like so infinitely versatile. I think infinitely versatile is like just one of the crowning achievements of this series and what helps it go for so long.
Yeah, I agree. And I think just the way that you can it's a difficult thing, especially in kind of like written word and images, to tell when somebody is lying. And Lion Cat literally makes it so easy, but also it would be so easy to use Lion Cat as a crutch, but instead Lion Cat is used in a compelling way. And in a scene like this, where there are characters that have incentive to lie to each other, and you probably shouldn't trust what they're saying, Lion Cat creates a natural situation where they need to tell the truth, so you as the reader know that this is not politicking or anything like that.
Right. It's so good. Oh, and also last thing I want to point out really quick, because I do want to get through this a little faster since I talked about since I shat on the great Warren Ellis inexplicably for a long time. But I will say that the Will calls Prince Robot a drone, which is a pretty solid fuck you name for robots.
Yeah,
and I love seeing the little nicknames / slurs they have for different aliens in this series.
Yeah, the lingo. Well, and even the way that he says like lunar types, you get the sense that that's like a more politically correct term than Mooney.
I feel like it's probably still outdated. But it was proper at one point.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely some analogs in real life,
which we will not discuss here. Hey, do we want to do next scene?
Yeah. Well, and I think this is something that's interesting too, that I was going to say, talking about Lion Cat. And as you said, at the end, the next scene, we know that there's lying because of this distinct lack of Lion Cat, because Lion Cat is explicitly told to be outside, right?
Yeah.
So we start out with a wide shot of Sextillion, which also is just such a cool planet. It has like floating stars and hearts around it, and it looks like it's orbiting like a black hole or something like that.
Yeah.
But we actually get a sound effect. We get a bring. And then we cut to our good friend Mama Sun picking up the phone. And she's on the phone with someone who says that they are Detective Dawn, but we realize that it's Gwendolyn. And Gwendolyn says she wants to ask some questions about a missing persons case. and she says that she has reasons to believe that a 6-year-old child may have had her horns surgically removed specifically so she could be sold on the black market. And also Gwendolyn just looks like so calm as she's saying this. The Will whispers in her ear, and she asks, "Have you ever visited a comet called Fang, or Fang, or
I assume
whatever?"
Fang.
The place that Slave Girl said she's from. And Mama San goes, "Oh shit," kind of has "oh shit" body language and says "Slave Girl." And Gwendolyn said her parents are just looking for safe harbor, but if you refuse, we will leak it to the press. And she says, "I'm sure every Landfallian veteran who's ever had a bachelor party on Sextillion will be thrilled to learn that he may have accidentally stuck it in a filthy moonie." And Mama San says, "I'll have the girl's security elixir neutralized at once." And the Will looks like just like so happy and overwhelmed with surprise.
Literally for the first time.
Yeah.
In this series.
And then Gwendolyn arranges a pickup and stands up looking all badass and says, "Grab your cat, let's get this nonsense over with." And I think that's that scene.
Yeah. So here's a question I have for you. Mama San answers the phone as HQQ Imports. What does that stand for, do you think?
High quality quotas.
You nailed it.
That's it. That's
Quarters. So head 16ths.
Head 16ths. It is interesting. You get the sense that, like in all the other things, you see Mama San with her guards and stuff like that, but here you see her kind of in like it looks like she's almost doing like bureaucratic work. Like she's sitting at a desk, she's got stacks of papers and like answering phone calls and stuff like that. You get the sense of the business operations of Sextillion, not just the fucked up pleasures.
Yeah. But yeah, I love these little details like HQQ that we've talked about them before with like the purposely ambiguous and how we don't especially want to know, but I especially love them because then I get to ask dumb questions of the week and see what other people think is the backstory on things. And I'll tell you what, that why is the shoe off from a couple issues ago.
Oh God.
Some of my favorite, most brilliant answers that we've gotten so far have been from "Why is the shoe off?" And I'm very pumped to get to that.
I'm looking forward to seeing those. Yeah. The other thing too is throughout this scene, you get such good storytelling about who Gwendolyn is. This character that we've only really heard of. We get the sense that she knows how the world works. She's completely comfortable lying, and just her body language. She is in every single panel that she's in. She has the power, or at the very least is equal, but especially in this scene, she just looks so calm and confident, and she's playing Mama San like a fiddle. And then at the end, when she stands up, she just looks so kind of badass and confident.
Yep. She's pulling the strings, man. We got a new McHenry in the field.
I also think that the last panel is really interesting because it doesn't have borders. Well, it kind of has borders. It has borders on the bottom corner, but then it opens up as she's kind of standing up and as we cut over to outer space.
Yeah, and it's almost like a blank slate transition in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like it makes the setting shift less jarring because they just took out the setting for a panel.
Yeah, exactly. And then what happens in the next scene? Oh, this is a fun scene.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad I get this one. So we have the onion ship, the Will's onion ship, propelling towards, it looks like an asteroid of some sort, all orange. It's like Mars-ish. And
actually, that reminds me. Refueling station on Indica. Do you know what indica
yeah.
is, Jonathan?
Is that a strand of marijuana?
That is a kind of marijuana.
Yeah.
The devil's lettuce.
That's a very good planet name.
Yeah.
Oh man. So that's where they're meeting up right now is Indica. And the ship lands. We see that there's some sort of fueling outpost there. It has like a knocked over, I'm just realizing, a knocked over like little old-fashioned fueling station at it. And the Will jumps out, starts yelling for the slave girl. But we meet instead three, what are these, mole people?
Yeah, I would say mole people in just like cheap brown suits, and one of them's wearing a sweater vest.
Yeah, it's almost like a British mafia.
Yeah. It almost looks, it's like if the mafia was run by mole people who were also professors at a community college.
And which is how I describe my look to a T. We got these mole gangster types, three of them, and one of them is holding, or it has a gun pointed at Slave Girl. And they say, Sextillion loss prevention. Mama Son told us you were probably behind this. They say they tested Slave Girl and know that she wasn't, she didn't have her horn surgically removed. And so she's clearly valuable to them. And so they're going to bump the asking price up to $30 million. Will says, like a badass, here's our counter. Leave the girl with us and walk away alive.
Oh yeah.
And the mole person says a very inappropriate sword or word in reference to his Will's laser sword, because he's finally pulling out that lance hilt that we've seen so many times but have yet to see used. He calls it a laser sword, and the Will says, ain't a sword. We get a click, and then we get a clack, 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 clack as the lance extends out of almost telescopes out of the hilt and flies like 40 feet and hits the middle guy in the chest. Oh my
god, the action here. Oh my god.
The lance sort of like curves through the air as if he's controlling it. And the Will says it's a lance. And one guy, we have two great reaction shots here. The mole man on the left saying fuck as the lance hits the guy in the heart, the middle guy in the heart. And then the mole man on the right says holy fucking as the lance rips up through the top half of the mole man and just cuts him in half. Then Lion Cat jumps in and starts eating the face of the mole man on the right. And the Will throws his lance to Gwendolyn, says protect the girl, and starts running at the big last remaining mole man, who shoots at him with a Tommy gun, and the Will's blocking it with his cape. He knocks the gun out of his hand, but the mole man grabs Will by the neck, and in a very red-faced, suffocating Will says, do anything to Gwendolyn. And then Gwendolyn looks at the lance, and then her eyes turn red, and she says in blue, my ex taught me this one, and a giant red lightning strike cuts through the torso of the last mole man. And we get a great reaction shot of Lion Cat looking up from the face that she's eating, just amazed by and we get the delayed sound effect of the crackoom on that panel. The Will says, stupid, weathercasting is dicey, shaves weeks off your life too. And Gwendolyn says, sorry.
Such good implied world building.
Yep. Which has implications that I want to talk about. And Gwendolyn says, sorry, I've never killed anyone before. And he says, still haven't. And it turns out the mole man is barely alive. And the Will hands Gwendolyn the Tommy gun and says, finish what you started. And then goes over to Slave Girl. Sorry you had to see that. Let's get you cleaned up. And as the mole man is saying, please don't, we get a POV shot of Gwendolyn pointing the Tommy gun at his head, and you'd think that she'd be a little hesitant because she's never killed a man, but she just has a big confident grin on her face.
This is also like this shot is 100% a Tarantino trunk shot.
Oh yeah, and that's the end of our scene, and it's a fucking great action sequence.
Oh my, the action, like, not only is the action like good, it's so unique and so interesting, and I think this is we're starting to get a sense. We've had other action scenes, but a lot of them have been kind of more typical. This is fucking weird. This is so weird and so good, and it's just like such a page turner of a scene, because every time it's like he pulls out the lance, surprise, it extends, stabs the guy, then surprise, rips the guy in half. Surprise, he blocks the guns with his cape. Like, everything about this scene is just so like
Yeah, first time we get to see Lion Cat in action in a fight sequence.
Yeah.
And
she's fucking vicious.
Yeah.
She just eats Hector's face.
And it honestly reminds me of like a really good Dungeons and Dragons battle, where it's just like you now have all these different elements and all these different sort of player types with their different specialties, where we get the Will just being the well-equipped badass, and we get the Lion Cat just feral ripping things like people's faces off, and then we get the spellcaster coming in with the lightning bolt. And yeah, we're getting into that good sci-fi fantasy shit.
Yeah, it does feel very D&D. This is just like, it's good. It's just good pulpy action in the weirdest way. They also do a good job of making you hate the mole men, because the mole men use a slur.
Yes, they use the F word for homosexual, which I don't
the bad F word, the F word that I don't say all the time.
They're using the non-fuck is what I call it.
Yeah, the non-fuck.
And they, I could have sworn they had like your version of Lion Cat. Hey, I'm lying here accent, but
hey, I'm lying here.
But I think I just like fully kind of imposed that upon this based on just what I want them to sound like, really. Because there's nothing in the dialogue that especially implies it.
Well, and the name Hector isn't exactly like a New York accent name.
Yeah, no. I'm I wouldn't be surprised if these were actually like British thugs.
Yeah, I'm not. That's what I was thinking. I'm like the sweater vest really does make me think. Also, their feet. We didn't mention their feet.
I didn't even notice their feet. They look like big claw hands, and they're horrifying, and I literally never even saw them. Oh my gosh.
Thanks, I hate it.
Oh man. And also, for the people who are caught up on the series, no spoilers, but you never know if the actions of a certain person will come back into play at some point in the future.
Okay.
Some kind of
no spoilers. Okay.
Big old wink. That's a disclaimer for everything. You know what? Here, of all the crazy shit that happens in this scenario, one of the things will be significant-ish later. That's all I will say, is keep this one tucked away in your brain.
I think that this is interesting too, because this whole like the whole first, before the action really starts, until he stabs this guy doesn't get a name. We only get one name. We only get Hector.
Yeah.
But there's this very kind of old west vibes with the orange planet and kind of like the standoff and him whipping out his weapon. It feels very western.
Oh yeah, that low shot of him pulling out the hilt like a pistol.
Yeah, exactly. And like the close up on his hand as he pulls it out, and then the wide shot of it like killing the dude. And plus the kind of mountains in the background are kind of Monument Valley-esque. It's something. I'm gonna spoil something too. We're gonna see some Western vibes later on in the story too. So it's cool to see it. It's cool to pick it up a little bit here.
Yeah, this book like sort of just effortlessly changes genres, and it's always the best.
I also just love that the spaceship refueling station is just like an old gas station.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Hey, what's the did we hit the sound effect that you're referring to?
We did. Actually, the one I was referring to is the krakoom.
Okay, you know what? We weren't referring to the same one.
Was yours the click, click, the clack, clack, clack?
The clack, 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 because that
Yeah.
adds, that's when the lance is telescoping, and that adds such a satisfying, like, concept of how it actually functions in your mind,
Yeah.
of like each sort of section of it just clicking out of the lance.
Like those cheap old lightsaber toys that I used to have as a kid.
But yeah, I just found that I feel like that, like, it's not at all, you get what's happening without that sound effect, so it's not out of necessity, but it just adds such a cool layer and detail and a little bit of depth to this weapon, and you suddenly know just exactly how it functions because of that, and how it like feels in your hand when it's extending and stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah, it makes it feel more tangible.
Yeah, for sure.
It feels like it's a real object, and you can kind of. I always like that. Like, I always like the kind of curve of it. Like, you almost feel like you can feel the weight of it, like swinging, like you're swinging a long rope or something like that. Right?
It's reminding me of those. Did you ever play Half-Life 2?
No.
Or Half-Life 1?
No.
They have the rocket launchers where you shoot the rocket and then you can sort of like redirect it in the air.
Oh, yeah.
From the line. I mean, that's a thing that also exists in reality. But yeah, it very much, and it's the most satisfying weapon in any game. And so it reminded me of that a lot.
And then my sound effect that I really want to talk about is this krakoom. There's a lot there behind this krakoom.
Yeah, which I literally, until I was describing the panel, it didn't even register with me that it was a delayed krakoom.
Yeah, so that's one thing. It's the delayed, which makes sense because it's a lightning attack.
Yeah.
And this is really a really neat thing. I've actually been doing, because I figured it would be good now that I'm doing a podcast on this, like my 10th reread or whatever of understanding comics. And I just read the chapter about kind of controlling the pace of time between panels. And this is phenomenal. Also, by the way, everyone should read Understanding Comics. Like, I mean, I feel like it's a cliched thing to say, but it's so good. Every time I read it, I just love it.
And go watch my video on Up versus Arrival, which somehow incorporates that into it. Because obviously
that's such a like surreal sentence. It's like you had a stroke. Yeah, no, I did a video comparing Up to Arrival using Understanding Comics.
If someone made an AI that just formed John sentences, that's absolutely the result of it.
That's a neural net that's just like read through all of your scripts.
Yep.
The other thing about the krakoom is that krakoom is the same sound effect as when Marco uses his lightning.
Yeah. That's rad. Was his red?
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, his was also red. So it's the same spell. It really, well, and she even says, my ex taught me this one, but I think that's really interesting. And then I think it's also really cool. The krakoom is so big and so loud that in the next scene, you get this sense of silence while the rain falls over. Like, you get the sense this lightning bolt, it's loud, there's people shooting, there's Lion Cat eating someone's fucking face off. Which, can we talk about how you can see the fucking skull in the krakoom panel? That's fucked.
That's fucking crazy.
But you get this kind of, like, chaos, and then suddenly it's silent, and the rain's falling.
Which, you know what, and you point out the weather shaves weeks off your life, which implies that Marco shaved weeks off his life to win an argument with his mother. Fucking hashtag relatable.
Oh yeah,
I would absolutely do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the gist of this scene. Also, did we mention that the guns they use are like Tommy guns?
Yeah. They literally just threw like a green stripe on the round of the magazine of a Tommy gun, and they're like, "It's space now. We spaced it." All right, and we want to hit up this last scene. It's a short one.
Yeah. So we cut back to outer space. We see the onion ship flying through space. We see Slave Girl curled up with Lion Cat, and
Ooh, it's a cutie Lion Cat. Go ahead.
yeah. And then, so Gwendolyn walks up to the Will, who seems to be navigating the ship or something, says she's finally down, where to now? And the Will says, I'm back on the hunt right after I take her home. And Gwendolyn makes a very compelling point, which is like, home to the people that sold her into slavery to begin with. And then the Will says, to a shelter or something like that. And Gwendolyn says, Will, this girl has suffered years of horrific abuse. She probably needs counseling for the rest of her life. We can't just dump her in the middle of... And then Slave Girl wakes up and says, excuse me, ma'am, to Gwendolyn, but your necklace sounds sad. And the Will says, wait, hold up, what did you hear? And Slave Girl says, her necklace misses its old friends. It can finally hear them again, both of them, not far from here. And the Will says, does that mean anything to you? And Gwendolyn says, yeah, before Marco left, I gave him the engagement rings that were forged with this pendant. And the Will says, the necklace's friends, you have any idea where they are now? And we get our end splash. We end where we began, with everyone looking straight at us. and Slave Girl is pointing, saying that away. So apparently I have the rings.
I was the necklace's friends the whole time.
The real necklace was the friendship we made along the way.
Oh my gosh. So I'm I would sleeping Lion Cat is my life support.
Yep.
There's no one that there's sincerely no one that draws animals better than Fiona Staples, and especially that second image of Lion Cat sleeping is such an authentic cat sleeping pose of Lion Cat on its side, like chin sort of tucked in with like a double chin, and it's just so fucking cute. And I have a Simpsons style mural on my wall that just says "Do it for her," and it's just a bunch of photos of sleeping Lion Cat.
Yep.
This is Sleeping Lion Cat 2020. Got my vote.
Let sleeping cats lie.
Fucking new podcast again. That's what we're changing the name to.
All right. New name. Start over from the beginning. We'll reread issue 1.
But we're doing it all in our Lion Cat New York accent. I love it.
I think this scene is really like Gwendolyn provides a good kind of voice of reason, and you realize that the Will really, this is some like weird fantasy wish fulfillment thing for him, which you've always kind of known, but and the dream sequence in the beginning really hammers it home, but you really just you realize that he actually has no idea what he was gonna do once he saved Slave Girl. Yeah,
I also really like that Gwendolyn calls the Will. She's already on a Will
like
basis with them. I ship.
Please, the Will was my father's name.
So yeah, that's my new OTP right there. Just because she calls him Will.
And I think what's really interesting about this episode, which is worth talking about now that we're at the end, is this is the first episode that is only following like one character's, or well, I guess it's two characters, but it's not jumping perspectives or anything like that. It's the Will and Gwendolyn the entire time.
It's not even the two main characters.
Yeah. There's no Marco or Alana, and Marco's only even mentioned like once by Gwendolyn or twice.
Yeah, it's very much. I think this comic has been very good about managing your expectations for the structure going forward, where it's getting in a lot of variations on it very early. Post, like, the first book was very consistent with its one Will scene, one robot scene, rest all Marco and Alana. But Yeah, this one is it's still, I mean, in the context of the whole series, this is very early on to have a no main character issue. And it's such, you don't even register it. It's just so entertaining and so satisfying, and it can just pull that off effortlessly.
Yeah, I think it speaks to how involved you are in the ancillary characters, how involved you are in the Will and in Gwendolyn already too. Like it's just such good writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the next, oh my gosh, and again, I skipped ahead one page, and
I know,
fucking best opening splash.
You say that, but look at the next opening splash after that issue.
Oh yeah, take it all back. We have a nice evolution going here of topless torsos coming up. There's your teaser.
Yeah.
So hey, do you have a favorite moment from this issue?
I mean, it's got to be when the lance rips upwards and tears the dude in half, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so fucked, and that's something that, like, again, that also just like makes sense with the way the weapon works when you see it, but there's no way you would have thought, like, when he stabs him, you're like, oh, he's just gonna like stab him and then retract and stab another guy or whatever, and then he rips up and tears the fucking dude in half.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I will say, like, because we've talked before about the portrayal of violence in this, and I love that, like, with Marco, it's a very sort of like traumatizing violence, like very war based violence. But with the Will, we're very much, I think they're doing a very good job of setting up the Will as the regular, like the pop culture anti-hero badass, or it's just like, I'm gonna just do cool violence, and the story sort of, in the violence sort of shifts to reflect that, because it's fucking, this one gets fucking gruesome, but it's awesome. and I'm not usually like, you know, I don't get off on violence or anything, but this is just like a fucking badass action sequence.
It's so good.
And I love how they sort of set that up, because you might not think that badass over the top violence is so cool in the future when the Will does it. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a fucking good scene.
Do you have a question of the week for us, John?
Well, first I have a favorite moment.
Oh yeah.
Calm your jets there, Noah.
God damn it. God damn it.
Yeah, I would sell my house for Sleeping Lion Cat. I don't even know why I would. I don't even have a house. I'll build a house. I'll sell my house for Sleeping Lion Cat. I don't know why Sleeping Lion Cat would even need it. I don't know what it's going to do with the house money. But you know what? I'll do it. It's Sleeping Lion Cat. That's all I care about. Sleeping Lion Cat.
Which Sleeping Lion Cat? Cuddling Lion Cat or just Sleeping Lion Cat?
I just want to observe. I feel like I don't even deserve the cuddles of Sleeping Lion Cat. I'm not
Nobody
worthy.
deserves the cuddles. Actually, Slave Girl might deserve the cuddles.
Oh yeah, no, I think she put in the hours. Gonna say.
Jesus, that's dark. Oh my god.
Man. Hey, my question of the week is, what the fuck is HQQ? That's my question for you. What do you got?
What do the Mole Brothers sound like?
Ooh, that's a good one too. I love these. I love the just discovering the headcanons of all of our readers.
Yeah.
How they observe all this. Do you have a song of the week?
It like Don't Stop Me Now by Queen.
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with you know what? The lion sleeps tonight, because I'm gonna for sleeping like Cat. I'm gonna become an astronaut, and that is strictly because I know there are no sleeping lion cats on the planet Earth, and my odds are just statistically better if I go into space, and I need a sleeping lion cat. So you know, that's my goal for life now. So go listen to those two songs. They're gonna be this great. And or what's the Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight? Is that the REM one? That's a little more listenable.
Hey.
Yeah, I just shat on a fucking classic.
Okay,
never mind. I take it back. It's garbage. Hey, we did an episode. Oh, and also cue that question music.
I was gonna say cue the music, and then also what I was gonna say is if people for some reason listen to this and decide they want more of you, where can they find you?
It's the fucking most upsetting way to phrase that. Hey, I'm at Jonathan Oscar on Twitter, JohnAthonoscar, and also Make Stuff on YouTube, youtube.com/MakeStuffStudios. Go check out all the Pretty Deadly stuff that's going up. I'm doing multiple videos with these folks, and it's going to be great because literally I have the best minds in the world just hammering me into actually making good stuff for once. And so go check that out. I'm so proud of that stuff. What about you, Noah?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Watch Polyphonic, and you can find me on YouTube at Polyphonic, and you can check out, I think I shouted this out last week, but I did a really cool video about Michel Gondry and
love that one.
recursion, and it was kind of cheeky. So check it out, and also I've got a video coming out this week at the time that I'm recording this about Woodstock, because, hey, Woodstock happened 50 years ago this week. That's cool.
Yeah, I like that Horns and Wings cheeky Noah is slowly infiltrating
bleeding over into Polyphonic. Yeah.
I dig it. All right, and of course, answer the question of the week on the pinned tweet, pinned comment on the YouTube, on the Twitter, but reverse those respectively, and go subscribe. Leave us a review. We just hit like a 4.9 on iTunes.
That's out of 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, because if it was out of 10, I would not feel quite as excited about that.
But yeah, people are leaving nice reviews. I appreciate that. We've hit that point where if people review now, it's probably just because they're already listeners and they just finally left a review, and it should be good. So I don't mind asking for reviews now. I love it.
Yeah, please give us reviews.
Yeah, it's great. And also, thank you to Fiona Staples, Brian K. Vaughan, Phonographics, and Image Comics for making the best dang comic in the dang galaxy. And how are we wrapping this one up? Here we're at an impasse now because we tried an alternate.
No, there's no impasse here. Right. We're gonna send this off with a real tasteful phrase. So remember, guys, and until next week, Fard will eat your souls and piss them out Fard's anus.
Bye.
All right.
Hey, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, my office is already turning into a sauna, so let's get this out.
Yeah, same. All right.
Dripping sweat.
That's good. I started right when you said dripping sweat, and that is no better way to fuck me up immediately. All right. Hey, guys, and otherwise, this is Jonathan O'Roseland.